defense of liberty is no vice.
Well, it's amazing to me, Michael, that a 16-year-old can be trusted to go and have a gender-changing surgery, but an 18-year-old can go out and take out $100,000 in student loan debt. There's no guardrails on that.
Look, the country's lost its basis of reality and sanity. We all know the country is fundamentally bankrupt. King Biden is acting much like a German king. Well, he wasn't. He was sort of a prince. He was a king at the time. He first was a prince. King Ludwig II. He was too young for the job. He inherited the job as king, and he spent the nation of Germany into bankruptcy. He bankrupted the nation by building edifices such as copies of the Palace of Versailles. We're not even getting copies of the Palace of Versailles out of this massive spending. He has not built a single bridge, a single monument of any significance. Where is all the money going? Tell me where all the money that this man is printing is going. Where is it going, ladies? I don't know where it goes. We have nothing.
It's all the electric vehicles that all you people in California are going to need to buy before 2035. I got to tell you, you called him King Biden, but he's also Clown Biden. You better put a crown on that clown figurine that you have
All right.
with you.
I'm
Dr.
not going to
Michael.
show it.
You're scaring the
Memorize
kids,
this
Michael.
figure. This is what Joe wants us to all be wearing when he's through with us.
Oh, Lord.
Gosh, we're gonna have nightmares.
Scary times. Dr. Michael Savage, thank you so much.
Thanks, Michael.
Fiscal imbecilic.
And joining me now to discuss is host of the Michael Savage podcast, Dr. Michael Savage. Dr. Savage, great to see you as always. A lot to get to tonight. Former President Trump posted this on his Truth Social yesterday. A major motion pertaining to the Fourth Amendment will soon be filed concerning the illegal break-in of my home, Mar-a-Lago, right before the ever-important midterm elections. Dr. Savage, what do you think this motion is?
I have no idea, Logan. Thanks for having me on. Look, I was the first one in the media, and I have to take credit for it, because if I'm not for myself, who will be? I stated this on a Newsmax TV show. I was the first one to talk about the Fourth Amendment violation of President Trump's rights. And I read the Fourth Amendment on Newsmax TV. Please let me read it. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall issue, but upon probable cause supported by oath, affirmation, and particularly, listen to this, Logan, describing the place to be searched and the persons or things. They were sniffing around in Melania's underwear drawer. I will never forget the picture of that small Rachel Madcow-looking girl with a machine gun outside the gates of Mar-a-Lago. This is not America. This is fascist Germany or fascist Italy under the senile Mussolini running this country. And all of this is on the background of 4 million illegal aliens, criminal pork barrel spending, a foreign war nobody voted for, an unprecedented illegal raid of a former president's home, a fentanyl crisis killing thousands, a crime wave in our major cities, and hyperinflation. And those are only a few of the things that are the background for this fraudulent raid upon President Trump. And the fact is, they did not describe the persons or things. They did a wholesale invasion of this private home. And so I say this to people I know, some of whom are former conservatives, some are even somewhat Democrat liberal, and they say, well, he probably did something wrong. What do you mean probably did something wrong? If this rogue government under Joe Biden can do this to him, what is to stop them from doing it to us, to me, to you, Logan, to everyone on Newsmax TV, of anyone who says one word about this criminal administration? What is to stop them? The answer is nothing. And by the way, I blame Mr. Turtleneck himself, McConnell. He is the greatest traitor in the history of this Republican Party, called a Republican Party. Do you know what he said last week? He doesn't think that the Republicans are going to be able to hold on to even the number of seats they currently have in the Senate. He's basically conceding the election. Do you know why? He's as corrupt as Nancy Pelosi, if not more so. And McConnell does not want a majority in the Senate. And there is a reason for that. This way they can continue to rob the Treasury blind and blame the Democrats. It's an old game of bait and switch. So much this. I know it's your show, not mine, but you wind me up. You can't stop this clock from ticking.
Well, Dr. Savage, and I know you're in agreement with my first guest of the night, Alan Dershowitz, who you call the last true liberal. Both of you agree that they're going way too far here with former President Trump. So do you think the former president will actually be indicted from this? And you mentioned on your podcast with Professor Dershowitz, even if he is criminally charged, you could still run again for president.
How would I know what he's going to do? There's no predicting what he's doing or what he's going to do. I fear that they may have gotten him into a situation, in some ways legal or illegal, that I have no knowledge of, obviously, nor do you, we're all guessing, where they're going to do a plea bargain with President Trump and say to him, if you agree not to run because we know you're going to kill us if you do run, we won't pursue you. This is a straight-out, old-style squeeze play. God knows what they're laying on him. God knows what they have on him. God knows what they're going to say. And God knows what he's going to say, because I certainly don't. And especially when we see this article, Logan, written by Paul Sperry in the New York Post, inside the controversial FBI unit behind the Trump raid. It's a long story, but it's the same FBI unit that came up with the fake Russia collusion story. And this unit is under investigation right now. There are FBI whistleblowers who have alleged that one of the leaders of this unit tried to falsely discredit derogatory evidence against none other than Hunter Biden. So they have an internal search unit, an internal unit of the FBI that's soft on the Bidens and hard on Trump. Soft on Americans, etc., etc. You get the picture. We're living in a rogue nation right now. This nation is out of control. We've got Biden playing a game here. One day he's a senile Mussolini, the next day he's totally cogent. This is like Big Chin Gigante, who walked around New York City, Logan, in pajamas and a bathrobe, making believe he was somewhat feeble in order to throw people off his track. All of a sudden, Biden is the most loquacious man we've ever seen. Where is he now? Riding a bicycle on the beach. Last week he didn't know how to put his glasses on. His hat fell off, his glasses fell off. This week he's on a bicycle. Who is the real Biden? Will the real Joe Biden please stand up, because we don't know who he is? We know that we've lost our country, and I have to go back to many of the issues that you've been covering on your show and on Newsmax. 4 billion illegal aliens. Let's start with that. Criminal pork barrel spending. Who's going to pay for it? Why are they putting illegal aliens in luxury hotels in Manhattan? Who's going to pay for that? While some of our veterans are sleeping in the streets. The country has been stolen out from under our feet. And I blame McConnell for letting it happen. He's part of the problem. We know the Democrats are. We know they're being led by the communist Bernie Sanders and occasional Cortex. We know that they're trying to destroy the middle class, as was done, rather, to use proper English, in the ex-Soviet Union. I mean, I could go on and on about that. Remember what they called the farmers in the Soviet Union before they stole their crops? They called them every name under the sun the same way. Productive American citizens are being targeted by the Bidens right now. First, they degrade you. Then they humiliate you publicly. And then they come for everything that you produced, as they're going to do with the IRS agents. What did they call the farmers in the Soviet Union who were providing all the food for the people in Russia in the 30s before the farms were seized by the government? There was a Russian name for that, and that name was used first to call them criminals. And then they went into their little huts, and they took their winter clothing and their shoes, and then they seized their farms. And then they brought in idiots from Moscow, communists like occasional Cortex, to run the farms in Russia, and there was a massive famine where 30 million Russians starved to death as a result of exactly what's going on in this country right now, under the senile Mussolini, being run by none other, well, you'd say it's Obama. Let's leave him out of the picture. It's, who else? Bernie Sanders, a naked communist, along with a very dangerous individual called Occasional Cortex, who, if she had her way, would put people like me and you into prison camps. Other than that, we're living in a fine time in America, having a wonderful Labor Day coming up, aren't we?
Dr. Michael Savage, we hear those stories from the Soviet Union. You hope it never happens here, but with the way things are going, you can't predict anything, right? So, Dr. Michael Savage.
Blink of an eye.
Exactly.
The blink of an eye. It happens like that. But we're seeing it in slow motion. Who are these 4 million illegal aliens, Logan? I know I'm going over my time. I see husky, strong young men with nice haircuts, new shoes. I see happy nuns from Catholic charities giving them bags of goodies, putting them in beautiful hotel rooms. Why are they not working the minute they get here? I thought they all come here to work. They're coming to work the system. They're a bunch of leeches, every last one of them. And if I had the power, I'd deport all 4 million of them. That's what I would do. We don't hear the word anymore, deport them. I'd deport all 4 million of them the day I was made president. And I'm not running for anything, not even dog catcher.
We'll give it a couple of weeks, and Mayor Adams and Mayor Bowser might be on the same page as you, Dr. Savage. National Radio Hall of Famer Dr. Michael Savage, always great to talk to you. And
Well, joining me now to discuss this is the host of the Michael Savage podcast, Dr. Michael Savage. Thank you, sir, for joining us as always on a Saturday night. A lot of folks, including Donald Trump, Dr. Savage, calling this a witch hunt this week. Is this a witch hunt?
It's more than a witch hunt. Mike, thanks for having me on this great show every Saturday. There are so many elements that need to be looked at. The number one issue is this raid is not about a man, it's about a nation. They raped the nation. They raped half the nation with this raid. It was unnecessary. They have dragged us into the dark ages, not only depriving Donald Trump of property rights, but the search warrant did not contain probable cause. It was not in there. So they violated his Fourth Amendment rights, Mike, which they would afford a drug dealer from the Dominican Republic with a trunk full of cocaine, but they did not afford it to the president, former president of the United States. There's a very big story, I'll never forget this one, back 10, 15 years ago, Bronx, undercover New York cops. They see who they thought were these dealers they were watching, and they see them show up 4 in the morning with the trunk of their car is low to the ground. They figure it's loaded with drugs. They raid the car. They find 30 kilograms, I don't know, 40, 60, 80, 100 pounds of coke in the trunk, right? A crackpot left-wing judge throws the arrest out, saying that they violated the Fourth Amendment rights of the Dominican drug dealers. Listen to this is what goes on in this country with liberal lawyers. They defend drug dealers, but they now sit here applauding the invasion of Donald Trump's private home. Now, most of the commentary I am hearing can be called puerile, P-U-E-R-I-L-E, boyish, childish. I have never seen liberals cheering so much for fascism as I am seeing now. If we look at the case in detail, we can find so many irregularities, Mike. And all it's done is take people who were on the fence for Trump, and I know a few of them who were losing interest in him, saying, you know, I'd rather see DeSantis run, or he's had his time, he's too divisive. They've all said, I'm voting for Trump. This has coalesced people behind Donald Trump. They've just catapulted him into the Oval Office. I fear more that they'll assassinate him than I do arrest him. I've never seen it like this in my entire life. You look at the judge. You keep hearing the judge, the federal judge. He was a low-level magistrate judge, Mike. And a magistrate judge, as I wrote, is to judges what military law is to law. He's not really a federal judge. He's a clerk in a federal courthouse. He also had a shady connection to the Epstein case. This is a nightmare for America, not just for Donald Trump. Forget about the fact that Trump himself last night said that these documents could be declassified by him. Grassley went further. Senator Chuck Grassley, very important man. He cited the investigation into former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton's, quote, mishandling of highly classified information, unquote. But there are hysterics in the media who are now saying this is espionage and Trump could face the death penalty. I cannot believe what I'm actually reading. This is how crazy this, quote, witch hunt has become. People have become totally insane. They're comparing him to the 1950s espionage. When have you last heard this, Mike? This is insanity. It's divided the nation even further. And all they want to do is nullify Trump from running because they know he'll win in a landslide, and they've just guaranteed that he will.
Certainly seems like that, Dr. Savage. That judge you mentioned also donated $2,000 to Barack Obama's campaign 14 years ago. I want to pivot, though, to the attack against acclaimed author Salman Rushdie yesterday in New York. Bill Maher had this interesting angle on his program last night. Watch this.
So don't come at me with Islamophobic. Phobic means fear, right? Well, Sal had a good reason to be fearful. Sorry, but, these things don't go away. Islam is still a much more fundamentalist religion than any of the other religions in the world. And that means they take what's in the holy book seriously. And that has been dangerous for a long time. It's still dangerous.
We as a society, Dr. Savage, are still afraid to call out Muslim extremism. Why is that?
Ask the Israelis. Because Muslim extremists don't remember for 10 years, they remember for 1,000 years. They're living in the dark ages. There are names for them, Islamofascists. You can't say the word, but the fact is they're following their holy book. And this guy is not alone. The fact is, anyone who criticizes anything done by any of the extremists in the name of their religion is now a target. Well, there are many Muslims who are criticizing fundamentalist Islam. They've been targets as well. So it's only a matter of time. It was only a matter of time until this happened. We have all forgotten the dangers of radical Islam. I wrote about it in book after book after book. And I quoted Muslims themselves who were trying to warn us about letting our guard down against radical fundamentalist Islamists. We all forgot it, though. Obama made anyone who said it a racist. Then anyone who said anything about it today was called an extremist or a right-wing extremist. This poor guy, Rushdie, may not survive it. He's 75 years old. He was stabbed in the liver and the neck. He's losing an eye. That's what we hear now. I don't know a 75-year-old man who could survive what just happened to him. In essence, this man killed him. Even if he survives, he will not be able to do speeches anymore because his inner chi energy is gone, in plain English. So it's not about Islam. I want to be very clear. I've studied this for over 30 years. There are many modern Muslims who condemn radical Islam, and they themselves have been targeted, and they're mainly women Muslims, by the way. Modern women who do not want to be kept like slaves in a religion that's based on something that is thousands of years old. So this is only the beginning of a new wave of terrorism, in my opinion. And of course, the FBI is not looking at radical Islamists anymore. They're looking at people at school board meetings who stand up to degenerates and perverts.
And Michael, we have just about 30 seconds left. We just talked to Ambassador John Bolton about the growing threat of Iran and their nuclear capabilities. Iran even threatening to bomb New York City over a week ago. How concerned are you with the growing threat from Iran?
It's way out of my league. That's a problem for Israel, not for me. It's not a single man's issue. Israel is facing annihilation from Iran. You may say, well, if Israel has nuclear weapons, why can't Iran? Because Israel's not threatening to wipe Iran off the planet simply for existing, while Iran is threatening to eliminate Israel and eliminate it from the map of the earth should they get a nuclear weapon. Therefore, Israel is facing an existential threat. And my opinion is they're going to take Iran's nuclear facilities out if they still can. And I don't know that they can.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Savage. We have to leave it there. I appreciate your time. Joining me now to weigh in on all of this is host Michael Savage, the host of the Michael Savage podcast and author of Our Fight for America, The War Continues. Dr. Savage, always a pleasure. Thank you for joining us. I need to get your thoughts on this Pelosi trip this week. We've seen multiple Chinese warships and aircrafts cross the median line in the Taiwan Strait. Taiwan saying today that those military drills appear to be simulating an attack on the island. How concerned are you with all of this?
Mike, thanks for having me. Power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts, absolutely. That was stated by Lord Acton, old white guy in 1887. Pelosi is the living embodiment of absolute power that's corrupted a person absolutely. He also wrote that authority does not exist for liberty. Excuse me, authority that does not exist for liberty is not authority but force. She is a maniac. She has tripwired the world. She is a loose cannon. She did this for several reasons, none of which have to do with world peace or world security. In my opinion, she went to grandstand to throw mud on her stock scandal, to cover up her husband's drunk driving arraignment, which everyone seems to have forgotten about. Let's look at some of the headlines together, Mike. Taiwan official leading missile production found dead in hotel right after she left. The head of missile production in Taiwan was killed in his own hotel room in Taiwan. What are the New York Times liberals saying? Even Friedman no less. Thomas Friedman, the devout liberal, says it's utterly reckless. Three-time Pulitzer Prize winner, Thomas Friedman. Nothing good will come out of it. Taiwan will not be more secure or more prosperous as a result of this purely symbolic visit. Blah, blah, blah. And so the fact of the matter is she's opened up a possible second front for our military when our military is concerned not with winning wars, but let us say winning the hearts and minds of soldiers and turning them into trans mentality. What is Russia saying? Russia brands Pelosi PR trip, an attempt to divert from the Ukraine disaster. What are the people in China saying? Nancy Pelosi risked global security with Taiwan visit, all in a feeble attempt to shore up Democrat voter base. One more quote, Mike. Well, there's many more quotes. I'll go back to my first one. My current podcast, which is up, is entitled Life and Death in Taiwan, Pelosi's China Provocation. She provoked China unnecessarily at this time. Now, what you're hearing are all of these armchair conservatives like Sean Hannity and the others who are, yeah, show China who we are, stand up to them. They're all liars and they're all feeble inside. The fact of the matter is, did we need this problem now, Mike? Of course we did not. We are mired in a proxy war with Russia and Ukraine that we can't even get out of. We're sending billions of dollars to corrupt Ukraine to fight Russia. And we all know Russia is the wrong party here. Everyone knows that. But did they ask we the taxpayers if we wanted to foot the bill? Were the taxpayers asked if we wanted to provoke China right now into a possible launch of missiles? One other thing, I've studied this in great detail as an armchair general, so to speak. China right now has enough long-range missiles to wipe out our entire Western Pacific fleet with several barrages. They have hypersonic missiles which they can fire from the mainland. People think that it's still 1995 and we are predominant on the seas. We are not. China has actually built more ships than we have. China has more tanks than we have in the area. But more importantly, Mike, China has hypersonic missiles that could sink our entire fleet sitting off Taiwan. And what's tragic about this, the aircraft carrier Ronald Reagan has more personnel on it that were lost in 9/11. God forbid that ship is brought down. Who are we going to blame? We're going to blame Pelosi? She'll say she went there for the freedom of the Taiwanese people. So the question is, Mike, did she have a right to go there? Of course she has a right to go there. Was it wise to go there? It was wrong to go there. If we had a strong president, he would have forbade her from going there. What is she doing there? She's the head of the House of Representatives, the Speaker. I know Newt Gingrich went there years ago. We all know that. But it was not a time like these. We were not mired in a war that we could not win. We did not need a second front. We were not collapsing from within, morally and economically. It's a disaster. And it goes back to Lord Acton's statement, Mike, which I quoted in the beginning. Power tends to corrupt. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. And the fact of the matter is, Pelosi has gotten away with so much in her life. She is imperious. She is like Icarus, who is flying so close to the sun. We better pray that her feathers don't fall off.
Yeah, a lot of folks think Pelosi may have been talking about that recently passed CHIPS Act as well, which provides $52 billion in funding for computer chips manufacturing made in Taiwan. Her husband, just days before that act passed, investing in a company that was involved in that act. So there's a lot of discrepancies when you start looking into Pelosi's resume there. Dr. Michael Savage, always appreciate your time on Saturday night. Thank you.
Life and death in Taiwan. That's the story. God pray for the people of Taiwan for what she has done to them.
Amen.
Mike, thank you very much for having me on Newsmax.
Thank you, Dr. Savage. Appreciate it.
Let's discuss with Michael Savage, host of the Michael Savage podcast and author, Our Fight for America, The War Continues. Michael, thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, Katrina, thank you. She's my congresswoman. I'm really happy here. But we have nothing to fear, Katrina. We have a commander-in-chief in tip-top shape. We have a House Speaker as clean as the streets of San Francisco. And we absolutely need this confrontation right now. We're doing so well in our proxy war against Russia. Why not have another proxy war now against China? Just think how much money can be made by the greedy politicians who are deep in the pocket of the weapons manufacturers. Never forget that that's what this is all about. The military-industrial complex. They love war. Moreover, this is a distraction for Nancy Pelosi and Paul Pelosi, as we all know. The big scandal that just came and went due to the help from their friends in the media, the chip maker stuff, chip stock, NVIDIA. We know that the top semiconductor companies in Taiwan, there are 10 of them. The number one is TSMC, which happens to make the chips for NVIDIA. What's in this for the Pelosi's? We don't know yet. In other words, sure, they bailed out of the NVIDIA stock, but have they bailed into TSMC? We don't know, because the Taiwan chip manufacturers are not going anywhere.
Right.
The question is, are people going to sell them short out of fear there'll be a confrontation with China? So maybe Paul is selling some of these stocks short.
Right.
I don't know. I'm not in the stock market. But you can be sure of one thing. If there's money out there, they, like sharks, can smell it like the sharks smell blood. So there's got to be some economic advantage for the Pelosi's for her to even go there, because there's no political advantage other than trying to muddy the waters about the scandals surrounding her.
Yeah,
That's all. I'm sorry, it's all.
No, it's good. No, I just want to interrupt you here because you mentioned Paul Pelosi and Nancy Pelosi was recently asked about those insider trading allegations, and I want everyone to hear how she responded.
Over the course of your career, has your husband ever made a stock purchase or sale based on information you received from him?
No, absolutely not. Okay.
Me?
I find it's not just the walking away, but the Mike, God, your reaction.
Did you see the mouth?
The face. I was looking at the face. Yes.
Did you see the mouth? No. Me?
Yeah. No.
Me corrupt? No. I'm as clean as the streets of San Francisco. Look at a great job I've done here in my city. You can't go out to a restaurant without fearing, well, I've got to stop right here. I love this city. At least I used to. And what she has allowed to happen with the other, I don't know how to put the words, Dianne Feinstein, remember her? She's dropped out of the news after the big scandal of the Chinese spy driver a few years ago. Does Feinstein, even though she's alive, she has the same COVID. There's a whole school of medicine that says no. You should build up your own immune system, not use a foreign drug like this that they gave him. There are great doctors out there, and I don't even want to get into it. I know that this is not a topic for us, but I'm not so sure
It's not an
smart to use an antiviral.
Yeah,
I don't think
again,
you need to use an antiviral after COVID. There are many other things that can be done to stimulate your own immune system to build up your own immunity.
Yeah, lots of studies still being done on that one. But I do want to continue on our countdown here. Congress was supposed to tackle some of the China threat with this new chips bill. You mentioned that. But Schumer ended up taking out most of the anti-China provision at the last minute. So what's going on with that? Is that a bait and switch?
Well, Schumer, bait and switch? You must be kidding. Nancy Pelosi not telling the truth? Hey, they're in the same party. They live on lies. Everything they say is a lie. For 4 years, they lied about Donald Trump. Everything they said he was doing, he was not doing, but they were doing. Everything they said about Trump, he was not doing, but Biden was doing it. So, of course, Schumer lies. Every time he breathes, he figures out how to do another lie. The man is let me stop right here because it's a family show. Schumer is as dirty as they come. Why would the senator, the head guy in the Senate, strip an anti-China provision from a new bill? Why would he do that? Because they own him the same way they own not only the Democrat, a good part of the Democrat Party, Katrina. Look at what's going on with the Republicans. Many of them are cheering Pelosi's trip to China right now. They're saying, that's great. You see the warmongers out there? Oh, yes, let's confront China right now. That's just what we need. We're not caught in a quagmire in Ukraine with Russia. Now let's get into another quagmire with China.
Sure.
These people they're crazy. It's not a matter of whether we back Ukraine or not. Nobody wants to see what's happening to Ukraine happening. Everyone's on the side of Ukraine. But do we now have to engage in a second front? Now with the second most powerful country on earth? I don't think so. And by the way, Katrina, we've driven Russia into China's hands. China's buying their oil. China's supporting the ruble. The ruble is stronger than ever. What do we need this for right now? This is not diplomatic sense. This is diplomatic insanity.
All right, Michael Savage, we'll leave it there. Thanks so much for your insights. Always happy to have you.
Thank you so much, Katrina. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Joining me now is the host of the Michael Savage Show podcast, the man himself, Dr. Michael Savage. We meet again, my friend. How are you?
John, did you whack the host of this show? Where is she?
No, she's a fellow paisanette. We can't whack her.
I love seeing you. You and I have great fun together. But that is a crazy video. So the internet's abuzz with theories. The no blinking eyes. So I'm going to go back to old Honest Abe Lincoln, who said this. My father taught it to me in the streets of the Bronx. He taught me some good things. He was very cynical about politicians, and he said, Michael, never forget this. Abe Lincoln said, you can fool some of the people some of the time, and some of the people all of the time. But Michael, you can't fool all of the people all of the time. And I think Joe Biden has run his course. The fact of the matter is, this unblinking Joe Biden, it's all over the internet. Now, when he ran for the presidency, John, I call him a hologram in a basement. The guy is like a hologram. And now they're talking about being a deep fake video or generated using computer-generated imagery, CGI. Nobody believes this because the guy doesn't blink. So I went a little further, and I cannot confirm. This is something that's very controversial. There are medicines and drugs that limit eye blink rates. They're known in the medical literature as EBR, eye blink rates. And some of these drugs are speed-like, meaning cocaine. And what they do is they reduce the dopamine D2 receptors in the lid of the eye and stop the blinking. I mean, cokeheads don't blink. I'm not saying he's using coke, but speed-like compounds will do that to people's eyes. So it's possible the president is being given some boosters. It wouldn't be the first president in history, going back, as we know, to John F. Kennedy, who is on medication. He was just sick, then he got COVID, now he comes back and he's not blinking. We're very concerned. John, we're very concerned. We got China, we got inflation, we got Russia, we got Ukraine. The guy is like,
And the president's on Quaaludes.
I don't know what we do with those, but yeah, I think he's past the age of needing Quaaludes.
Doc, let me ask you this. Some House Republicans, not a lot, but enough, are renewing their calls for Biden to take a cognitive test. More than 50 members signed on to a letter. They sent it to him. Do you agree with that?
It's never going to happen.
Right.
You know, I mean, Nancy Pelosi's going to let that happen. She's busy looking into what stock she can invest in now that she took her company, the money out of the chip company. I don't think it's going to happen. Look, it's seen to the average public as just politics as usual. Didn't they call Trump cognitively impaired? Didn't 50 or 100 Democrats say he should be given a mental test? This is typical now in America. It's gotten so dirty that we have no respect for the presidency, no respect for the presidents. It's mudslinging. It's not productive for our nation. It's sickening. The country is melting down faster than Chernobyl under this psycho. And he is an old man who is acting like an old man. There are old men who go into their 90s with perfect cognitive abilities.
Right.
This guy was showing a lack of cognitive abilities when he ran for the presidency. He should not be in this office for the sake of himself and for certainly the sake of the nation. Look what is going on around this nation right now.
It's
Let's
insane.
not forget, John, I blink rates. I blink
Yeah,
rates.
the EB, we got to keep it on the EBR. Maybe we want to check out, it may not be only Coke. You said there may be other things that could be medications.
Adderall.
Yeah, there you go. Now you got the right one.
You work on Wall Street. You work on Wall Street, right? What did those guys choose on the floor of the stock exchange?
Yeah,
And they
yeah,
didn't
they
blink,
used
right?
uppers. Forget about it. They couldn't stop the blink. They were zipping around too much. But, all
Did they
right.
blink a lot on the floor or not?
Mike, we gotta leave it there. Dr. Michael Savage, best in the business. Thank you, my friend.
To blink or not to blink? That is the question.
That is the question.
Thanks, John. Love it.
Maybe Biden's mental state contributed to his latest idea. Here's what we're gonna do, guys. We're gonna swap.
Different wavelength in terms of
Thank you, Logan.
your cognitive ability. At least, you know, it seems that you know my name. But the president insisted you can't get COVID if you were vaccinated. Here's when he said that he was so confident.
There's a lot of misinformation out there. So here are the facts. If you're vaccinated, you are highly unlikely to get COVID-19. You're not going to get COVID if you have these vaccinations. This is a pandemic of the unvaccinated. This is a pandemic of the unvaccinated. The unvaccinated, not the vaccinated, the unvaccinated.
Now, no one ever fact-checked him because the fact-checking seems to work one way. So Dr. Savage, he repeatedly vilified the unvaccinated. He's gotten as many shots as you can get. What are your thoughts on this?
I think we all better pray for him because he's already cognitively impaired. Everyone knows that. Everyone in medicine who knows anything about neurological disorders knows that he's suffering either from Parkinsonian dementia or pre-senile dementia. That's a given. Even his gait is symbolic of Parkinson's disease. His forgetfulness, he doesn't know where he is half the time. He is already cognitively impaired. Now, COVID has many neurological side effects and severe ones. Fumbling for words, depression, anxiety, confusion. Forget about the taste and mood disorders. There's much deeper cognitive impairment being seen with COVID. Depression, anxiety. Delirium has even been seen. Listen to this. Between 30 and 50% of people with an infection that have clinical manifestations like Biden will have some form of mental health issues. Anxiety, depression, fatigue, not being at your best, occupationally, potentially, physically. I can read all of the symptoms. Ask anyone who's had COVID. They'll tell you there are neurological side effects. Now, combine that with his existing cognitive impairment, and we have a president who will not be fit for office much longer, unfortunately, because waiting in the wings is the what do I call it? The hackler, the cackler. Not ready for prime time, done nothing in her life other than being appointed positions by Nancy Pelosi. She will be president. There's a high likelihood, I'd say a higher than 50% likelihood, that Kamala must replace the president within the next 6 months to a year at most. Because you combine the two, Logan, you combine the COVID with his existing cognitive disabilities, the man will not be able to hold up this show much longer. And so Kamala will be put in. She is not an independent personality. She was put there by none other than our friend, the stock trader, Nancy Pelosi. So Pelosi will finally be running America as she has dreamed of doing from the time she was a little girl in Baltimore working for her dad, the mayor of Baltimore. Let's stop right there. Just watched a few shows on the air. You'll know what I mean by that. Study the Staquito bust out on The Sopranos. You'll know where I'm going.
Well, Dr. Savage, we were going to talk more about President Biden's COVID, but I want to get into the Kamala Harris issue a little bit. I thought it was rather unusual to see California Governor Gavin Newsom visit the White House while the president was out of the country on a foreign trip. He was there meeting with the vice president. There's that San Francisco rivalry of sorts there. It seems like people have been taking bets on who is going to rise to the top the quickest, Kamala Harris or Gavin Newsom, part of that San Francisco machine. of sorts they have there. What is your take on that meeting? Do you think Newsom's going to try to run, or do you think Harris was maybe trying to put him into his place in case he's thinking about that?
Well, they're all part and parcel of the same, let us say, faction that runs politics not only in San Francisco but in the entire state of California. It's a one-party system. It's a brutal one-party system. Gavin has worked his way up from the bottom. I knew his father, Judge Newsom. I remember when Gavin was running for the mayorship, I went up to his father in a restaurant in North Beach when he came out in favor of same-sex marriage, and I was wrong. I said to his father, by backing same-sex marriage, it's going to do him. His father agreed with me. He was a very nice man. I was wrong. He was right. But I then named him Any Twosome Newsom. It's worked to his advantage. He is a far-left politician, to the left even of the current president, who is basically a man who believes in nothing. He's just a Machiavellian politician. That would be Mr. Biden. Newsom, on the other hand, is actually a bona fide leftist, and he's much smarter than people would like to believe. You can say he's this, you can say he's that. I happen to know he's much smarter than people understand him to be. So where does that leave us? Who's going to be president? Well, if Biden has to leave for medical reasons, Kamala becomes president. The question is, who becomes vice president? I don't really know what the order is there, but I do know this. Newsom was measuring the drapes this week. He's a far more viable candidate to the average American in appearance than Kamala, who has already shown herself to be incompetent at all speeds. We have to remember that whether we like Gavin's policies or not, he has been running and managing one of the largest economies in the world. That is the state of California. So he's already been managing a budget. He's already been running a government that's larger than most countries on earth. He's also movie star handsome. He's got a beautiful wife, beautiful children. And the question is, will the machine choose him over her in a primary battle, which is likely to occur, Logan? I don't think he's going to sidestep Kamala prior to her being, let us say, installed in the White House, if, God forbid, Joe Biden has to step aside, or is removed for medical or health reasons. If that happens, God forbid, she's clearly the president. I don't know who becomes vice president. I really don't know the order here.
Well, right now, two of the top three most powerful individuals in the country are from San Francisco, and we're lucky to have Radio Hall of Famer Michael Savage from the San Francisco Bay Area. I don't know how you still do it, but thanks for joining us tonight.
It's beautiful. It was 58 degrees this morning. I wore my parka, my overcoat on the San Francisco Bay. I'm here for the weather, not the people.
The crime wave, but not the heat wave. That's what you got, Dr. Savage.
I don't see them out on the bay. Logan, I don't see the bums on the bay. All I see are pelicans, God's beautiful creatures, flying over the water and eating more sardines than you can find in a can.
Great to have you here as always. Thank you, Dr. Savage.
Thanks. Love it. Great show.
It's a savage nation, and few understand that as well as my next guest, Dr. Michael Savage. He's a podcast host and author of Our Fight for America, The War Continues. Dr. Savage, thank you as always for joining us on this Saturday night.
Thanks, Mike. It's the high point of my week next to the Thursday night Newsmax show.
Absolutely. Well, Dr. Savage, you talk often about the raging crime rate in Biden's America that is just really out of control. Everyone is feeling the impacts of America's lawlessness. Starbucks now announcing it will be closing 16 stores by the end of the month, including 6 in the Seattle and Los Angeles areas, after workers there have reported a sharp rise in crime, such as incidents of drug use in the bathrooms in some of those Starbucks locations on those premises. A lot of businesses like Starbucks, though, Dr. Savage, supported Black Lives Matter, which, as we know, tore America's cities apart in 2020. What is your reaction to this story coming out of Starbucks this week?
Ultra tolerance is killing us. Now, 20 years ago when I said that, some understood me. And I talked about an analogy in nature of a strawberry. A strawberry has barbs on its berries, meaning little thorny things. And that's to protect it from insects eating out the fruit of the strawberry. Well, the police are our barbs on the berries. The military are the barbs on our berries. And when we remove the barbs on our berries, which we have done by attacking police, mainly through the criminal organization Black Lives Matter, and other such organizations, what happens is they eat the fruit of America, and they eat it till there's nothing left. Ultra tolerance is killing us. So the question is, what's the solution? There's always a solution to a problem. And the solution is reopen the mental hospitals. I know that people say, wait a minute, they're not all mentally ill. Well, what would you call that? Mentally healthy? Seeing people with needles in their arms in the streets of San Francisco, Seattle, Portland, Washington, New York? They're mentally ill. We need to give them the care they need. So we need to build new mental hospitals, reopen the mental hospital. People say, well, wait a minute now, that's going to be very expensive. But we've lost our cities. And without our cities, there's no nation left. There's a point of no return. I don't think we have reached it yet. We need to reopen the mental hospitals. We need to crack down on the so-called homeless, which is a misnomer. By the way, homeless implies everyone is entitled to a home. Well, let me tell you something. I had to work 25 years to buy my first home. Nobody gave it to me. I didn't inherit it. I worked and I saved. Therefore, I was not homeless. So these people cannot take care of themselves. So it falls upon society to take care of them. That means we control the care, not them. No, you can't crap in a mailbox. No, you can't drop your pants down and defecate in front of a restaurant window. I'm sick of it. This was once the most beautiful city on earth, San Francisco. I'm a New Yorker by birth. I moved here in '74. I fell in love with the city. It was extremely tolerant, which was beautiful. You know, let people do what they want, laissez-faire. I've always believed in that. But when you become so tolerant that you will tolerate anything, what you have is what you now have. You have Starbucks turned into toilet bowls. And what's astonishing here is that occasional cortex, some would call her occasional something else, ocasio-cortex. I call her occasional cortex because her brain only works part-time. When it was first announced Starbucks was going to close in certain cities, she had the nerve to say they were closing it because of economic reasons. That's not exactly what's happening here. They've turned them into toilet bowls, and the employees are terrified to go to work. Number two story,